Hey CMA buddies, let's today discuss various MCQs from strategic management. So we'll be looking at the question and four options are given, and perhaps you can guess the answer, or rather you should guess the right answer, and I would try to give you an explanation also for that, so that you have a clarity of the concept, and at the same time you are able to remember, or rather you are able to reproduce the answers at the time of the exams also. These are very much important, have been picked up from your question bank and from the previous year questions also. So I think it should come out very handy for you, right? Let's start with the questions right away. The first question says, the dash of a company state how managers and employees should conduct themselves, right? The options are values, goals, objectives, or vision. I guess you would have guessed the right answer by this time. The answer should be values. Why values? Because if you look at the definition of values, it says states how managers and employees should conduct themselves. So whenever you talk about conducting oneself in terms of managers and employees, they should rather follow something called as values. Other than that, what exactly value says? It says how to conduct a business. That's what it is. Not just about conducting oneself, but it is also about how to conduct a business. What kind of organization should be built to achieve the mission, and values, norms, standards control how employees must work to achieve an organization's goals or a mission. Often written down as statements about an organization, mission, objectives, and strategies is being defined as values. So the correct answer for the first question is values. Moving on, let's look at the second question. It says, dash are the day-to-day way in which an organization operates and can be seen by people both inside and outside the organizations. So what is the correct answer? Should it be performances, targets, behavior, or values? The answer should be behaviors, right? Why behaviors? Because when you talk about behavior, it says day-to-day way in which an organization operates and is visible by people both within and outside the organization, and that's what the statement also talks about, or rather the question talks about. Hence the answer should be behaviors. Other than that, it also says includes both work routines as well as how the organization is structured and controlled, right? Moving on, the next question is, which among the following provide the standards for performance appraisal? Is it mission? Is it vision? It is values, or is it objectives? The correct answer here should be objectives, right? What do you mean by objectives? Objective basically forms the basis of the functioning of an organization. So when you talk about the functioning of an organization, that is being defined by objectives. Now, why objectives are relevant? Objectives are relevant due to the following factors. What are the various factors? First is, it defines the relationship with the environment. Secondly, it helps in pursuing organization vision and mission. It provides basis for strategic decision making. That means it provides a platform. And finally, it provides the standards for performance appraisal. So if you look at the fourth point clearly says that it provides the standards for performance appraisal. Hence, our correct answer should be option number 4, that is objectives. Moving on. Dash is concerned with complexity arising out of ambiguous and non-routine situations with organization-wide rather than operation-specific implications, right? So what should be the correct answer? Is it operational management? Is it business level strategy? Is it strategic management, or a functional level strategy? The correct answer should be strategic management, because when you talk about strategic management is defined as, rather it is concerned with the complexity arising out of ambiguous and non-routine situation. Ambiguous means which is very complex in nature, very tough. Ambiguous means something which is very tough. And non-routine situation, that is which doesn't happen in your day-to-day operations, with organization wide rather than operation specific implication. So when you talk about concerning with the complexity arising out of the ambiguous and non-routine situations, so two things you need to remember is, one is ambiguity and second is non-routine situation, and not on the operation specific implications, then the correct answer in that case should be strategic management, right? Moving on. Dash refers to the job specific goals of each individual employee. Is it balance scorecard? Is it performance objectives? Is it personal objectives, or is it organizational genomics? So the correct answer is personal objectives, because it is each individual employee job specific goal. So personal objectives is defined as job specific goals of each individual employee, relevant as it communicates to employees what is important and what is expected of them. So two things that you need to remember is, one is what is important and one is what is expected of them. Managers set 5 to 7 goals per employee, contains mix of activities. When attained, more objectives are added, specifically designed to maximize team efforts. Hence my correct answer for fifth question should be option number 3, that is personal objectives. Moving on, the balance scorecard BSc is a dash approach to the performance management. Is it a top-down approach? Is it a bottom-up approach? Is it an indirect approach or a direct approach? So let's have a look at the definition. BSc was developed by whom? Robert S. Kaplan and David Norton of Harvard Business School. They clearly have defined it as a top-down approach to performance management. It starts with the strategic intent and ends with operationally relevant targets. So it moves from top to down. Hence it is a top-down approach. Fine. Next question. Dash provides the broad data from which to identify key drivers of change. Right? So is it SWOT analysis? Is it BCG matrix? Is it PESTEL analysis? Or is it critical success factors? Let's have a look at the answer. It is basically PESTEL framework. So option should be 3 by PESTEL, because what is the full form of PESTEL? First of all, it is political, economical, social, technological, environmental and legal. It can be used to identify the future trends which can have a significant impact on the organization. They provide key drivers which may be used to construct scenarios of possible future. So that's how you define basically a PESTEL analysis. Hence the correct option for question number 7 should be PESTEL analysis. That is option number 3. Moving on, environment is dash complex, dynamic, multifaceted or all of the above. What are the various characteristics of business environment, right? So when you talk about the characteristics of business environment, it is all complex, dynamic, multifaceted, and it also has a far-reaching impact. So having a look at the definition or the characteristics of a business environment, we can come to these option. We can deduce that the correct option should be option 4, that is it should be complex, or rather it is complex, dynamic and multifaceted. That is all of the above. Next one, dash are the growth rate of economy, interest rates, currency exchange rates and inflation or deflation rates. So what is it? Is it macroeconomic forces? Is it demographic forces? Is it technological forces or is it political forces? For that we need to understand what are the 4 important factors with respect to macroeconomic forces. These are growth rate of the economy, interest rates, currency exchange rates and inflation or deflation rates. And this is what is being defined in the question or asked in the question. So having said that, my correct answer with respect to question number 9 should be what? Macroeconomic forces. Right? So when I talk about macroeconomic forces, the 4 important factors are the growth rate of the economy, the interest rates, the currency exchange rates and the inflation or the deflation rates. Moving on to the 10th question. Dash are outcomes of changes in the characteristics of a population, whether it is a macroeconomic force, a demographic force, a technological force or a political force. So for that we need to understand the concept of social influences. What do you mean by social influences? It includes changing cultures and demographics. Demography depends on changes in characteristics of population. So whenever I talk about a population, then in that case or a characteristic of a population, I am basically referring to the demographic forces. It can be age, it can be gender, it can be ethnicity, it can be race, your sexual orientation and the social class. This provides an opportunity and threats and can have major implications for the organizations. Hence for 10, the correct answer should be option number 2. Moving on. What describes the categories of activities within and around an organization which together create a product or a service? Whether it is SWOT analysis, whether it is BCG matrix, whether it is value chain or whether it is brainstorming. The correct answer is value chain. Why value chain? Because if you read the definition of value chain, it clearly states that categories of activities within and around an organization. That's what the question is also referring to, which together create a product or a service. Fine. This concept was created by whom? It was created by Michael Porter. It refers to an idea that a company is a chain of activities that transforms inputs into outputs that customers value. Hence my correct option should be option number 3, that is value chain. Moving on, dash transform these inputs into the final product or service, whether it is operations, whether inbound logistics, outbound logistics or service. The correct option should be, for that we need to understand the concept of value chain. So what does value chain say? Value chain basically it has activities that can be divided into two types. One is the primary activity and the second is secondary or the support activity. Let's understand what exactly is a primary activity. It is directly concerned with the creation or delivery of a product or service. Example, for a manufacturing business, primary activities are as follows. So the four categories of primary activities are inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service. Sorry, there are 5 and not 4. So let's understand the meanings of each one of them. Inbound logistics, what does it say? What does it say? Says it is concerned with receiving, storing and distributing inputs to products or services, including material handling, stock control, transport, etc. Right? Then the second one is operations. It says transform the above inputs, that is from the inbound logistics, into the final product or service. This includes packaging, assembly, testing, etc. Then it says outbound logistics. What do you mean by that? Collect, store and distribute the product to consumer. So whatever you have produced during the operations process, that is being collected, it is stored and distributed to the customers in the form of product. It also includes various activities like warehousing, materials, handling, distribution, etc. Then the next one is marketing and sales. Means through which consumers are made aware of the product or service and are able to purchase it. It includes sales administration, advertising and selling. And finally you talk about the service. Include activities that enhance or maintain the value of product or service such as installation, repair, training and spares. So the primary activities includes what? Inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales and service. This basically you can remember in order also, right? So what does the question ask you? It asks you what transform these inputs into the final products or service. Hence my correct option should be operations, because the operations definition clearly defines transform the above inputs into final product or service. This includes packaging, assembly, testing, etc. Moving on, dash includes those activities that enhance or maintain the value of product or service such as installation, repair, training and spares. So it is again a continuation of the last question. So in this case we have already defined it comes under value chain, which has two types rather, which one is primary and the secondary. Primary, we already know the 5 types, that is inbound, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales and service. And for 13, the option should be what? It should be service. Why service? Because service clearly defines that it includes activities that enhance or maintain the value of product or service such as installation, repair, training and spares. So when you talk about these aspects of a particular product or a service, then in that case what we have to take into account is called as a service. Hence that's the correct option. Moving on to the 14th. Dash are companies that are not currently competing in an industry but have the capability to do so if they choose. That means they are not currently a competitor in any kind of industry, but they have the potential to be one of them, right? Or they have the potential to compete. So the options are established companies, potential competitors, rivals or competitors. I think I've already answered the question. It basically is called as a potential competitors because they are the ones who are currently not competing but have the capability to do so if they decide. So they are not competing in industry right now, but if they intend to, they can do it at a future point in time, right? 15th is what? Absolute cost advantages arise from superior production operations and processes, control of particular inputs required for production, access to cheaper funds, or all of the above. The correct option should be all of the above. Why? Because there is a concept called as risk of entry by potential competitors, right? In that there is a theory which says absolute cost advantages arise from 3 main sources. So absolute cost advantages, how can you basically have absolute cost advantage? First of all, there can be a superior production operations and processes due to accumulated experience, patents or trade secrets. Second is control of particular inputs required for production such as labor, material, equipment or management that are limited in their supply. And finally, access to cheaper funds because existing companies represent lower risk than the new entrants. So if you just take all these points into the account, the first one is defined in the first point. The second one clearly says control of particular inputs required for production. Third one is access to cheaper funds. Hence the correct answer for absolute cost advantage should be all of the above. Hence fourth is the correct option. Right. Moving on, we talk about the 16th one. It says a dash is a business unit in a growing market, but not yet with a high market share. Right. So should it be cash cow? Should it be dog? Should it be question mark or star? The answer should be question mark. Question mark is also called as a problem child. Right? Let's define what exactly is question mark. A business unit in a growing market, but not with a high market share. Right? Converting question mark into stars takes heavy investments. That means the next stage after question mark is basically star. It is important to make sure that some question marks develop in stars, as existing stars eventually become cash cows, and cash cows may decline to dogs. So when a business unit is in a growing market but they don't have the highest market share, in that case they basically are called as a question mark. That's the correct answer. 17th one. A dash is a combination of structures which could take form of product and geographical divisions, or functional and divisional structures operating in tandem. Tandem means simultaneously or together, right? The options that you have are functional structure, matrix structure, project-based structure, or transnational structure. The correct answer should be the matrix structure. Why? Because matrix structure, when we go by the definition, it says combination of structures which could take form of product and geographical divisions, or functional and divisional structures operating in tandem. So the definition given here is that of a matrix structure. Hence second is the correct option. Moving on. A dash combines the local responsiveness of the international subsidiary with the coordination advantages found in global product companies. Options are functional structure, matrix structure, product based, or the transnational structure. It says local responsiveness of the international subsidiary with the coordination advantages found in the global product company. So you can see there is a change in borders, right? So in that case, our correct option should be that of a transnational structure. Why? Because organization that operates across national borders, balancing global integration with local responsiveness. So when global is combined with a local thing, then that case it becomes a transnational structure. This structure involves a central headquarters, coordinating local subsidiaries or branches in various countries. These subsidiaries often adapt their products, services, and marketing to suit the specific needs of the local markets while adhering to the global overall strategy, or rather the overall global strategy. Hence the correct option should be option number 4 for question number 18. Moving on, which among the following is true? BPR has resulted in major gains in efficiency. BPR has resulted in major gain in speed. BPR has resulted in major gains in quality, or BPR has resulted in major gains in efficiency, quality, and speed. I guess you know what exactly is a BPR. BPR is nothing but it is business process re-engineering, right? So looking at the option, I don't think you need an explanation for that. The correct option should be option number 4, because it has resulted in major gains in all three, that is efficiency, quality, and speed. Moving on, a dash is one where teams are created, undertake the work, and are then dissolved. So whether it is functional, matrix, project based, or transnational. So the correct answer should be project based structure. Why project based structure? That is option 3. This is a structure where teams are created, undertake the work, and are then dissolved. If you've seen my videos, I've clearly explained that you create something, the work is undertaken, and finally it is dissolved, and that's all about project based structure. Appropriate for organizations that deliver large and expensive goods or services. Now this can be civil engineering, information systems, or films, or those delivering time limited events, that is conferences, sporting events, or consulting engagement. Best example is that of IPL. That's how you can remember. I've already explained it in my video. If you've not seen that, you can check that. Hence, when you talk about something, a dash is one where teams are created, undertake the work, and are then dissolved. That is basically called as a project based structure. Moving on the 21st one, dash specifies what is to be accomplished by focusing on the end result, whether it is output control, behavior control, premise control, or implementation control. So the correct answer should be output, because it says specify what is to be accomplished. That means completion by focusing on the end result. So end result you generally get where? You get it in output control. that specifies what is to be accomplished by focusing on the end result. So whenever I say end result, it obviously has to be the output control. Moving on, 22nd, dash is control achieved through the establishment of a comprehensive system of rules and procedures to direct the actions of divisions, functions and individuals. Output control, behavior control, is it premise control or implementation control? The correct answer should be behavior control. Why behavior control? That is option number 2, because it is achieved through the establishment of a comprehensive systems of rules and procedure. So whenever I talk about the comprehensive systems of rules and procedure, I am basically here talking about the behavior control. Why? To direct the actions or behavior of divisions, functions and individuals. The intent is not to specify the goals but to standardize the way or means of reaching them. Hence my correct option should be option number 2. Moving on the 23rd one, it says dash checks systematically and continuously whether the assumptions on which the strategy is based are still valid. So basically here the key word is assumptions. So if I talk about assumptions, what do you think should be the right answer? Whether it should be output control, behavior control, premise control or implementation control? The correct answer is basically the premise control. Why premise control? Let's look at the definition. It says strategy is built around several assumptions which are called planning premises. One of the assumption is premise control checks systematically and continuously whether the assumptions on which the strategy is based are still valid. So when I talk about strategy, assumption on which the strategy is based or on its validity, in that case that is called as a premise control. That is option number 3. Moving on the 24th one, a dash is based on the primary activities that have to be undertaken by the organization: functional structure, matrix structure, project-based structure or transnational structure. We have seen all the 3 in the previous question. So the last one that we are left with is only the functional structure. Let's understand the definition. It says this structure is based on primary activities that are undertaken by organization. These can be production, finance and accounting, marketing, HR and R&D, that is research and development. Hence for 24, the correct option should be option number 1. Moving on. This test is catch-all category, indicating that the structure must fit legal, stakeholder, trade union or similar constraint. So whether it is a feasibility test, whether it is a people's test, whether it is a parenting advantage test or whether it is the specialized culture test, correct answer is feasibility test. These tests have been discussed in detail. If you have not seen my last video, you can actually check that. I've clearly explained all the tests. I've given a simple way of remembering them also. So you basically can have a look at that. What exactly is a feasibility test, right? So when I talk about a feasibility test, it says this test checks whether all constraints that are legal, stakeholder, trade union or similar constraint are taken into account that impede means hinder or stop the implementation of organization's demand. These constraints can be internal, that is IT, or external or law, example laws. Such constraints need to be identified and assessed early in any design effort. So the correct answer should be feasibility test. Okay, again a question on the test. It says in a fast moving world, an important test you can ignore this D. In a fast moving world, an important test to determine the extent to which a design will allow for a change in the future is called, whether it is called as feasibility test, a flexibility test, a parenting advantage or a specialized cultures test. Correct answer is the flexibility test. So how do you define a flexibility test? It says this test is important as it helps to understand the extent to which a design will allow for change in the future. Example, divisional domain should be specified broadly enough to allow divisional managers to follow new opportunities as they emerge. If you don't remember what exactly are the various tests, basically the short form for the same is PPF and drafts, DARFS. That's a simple way of remembering these. These are the various tests that are conducted. Why these tests are conducted? Because basically when you talk about the structure, there are times when you may have to have a mix and match of various structures. So for that structure to be mixed and matched, you basically have to undertake various tests. So these are the various tests that are being spoken about. So how do you remember is MP, PF and drafts. So that's how I have explained it in my video. If you have not had a look at that, you can actually do that. It will make you recollect the topic very easily rather, right? Okay, moving on. Digital transformation drive changes in customer experience, operational processes, business models, or all of the above. So when I talk about digital transformation, it basically drives changes in three areas. What are these three areas? Customer experience, operational processes, and business models. The process requires coordination across the entire organization and involves business culture changes. This topic you can find in module 11.1, hence the correct answer should be option number 4. Next one is the process of dash requires coordination across the entire organization and involves business culture changes. Whether it is digital strategy, whether it is digitization, whether it is digital transformation or data aggregation. Digital transformation drives change in three areas: customer experience, operational processes, and business models, something we have already discussed. The process requires coordination across the entire organization and involves business culture changes. Again, this you can see in module 11.1. So for 28, the correct answer should be digital transformation. Moving on, categorization and organizing the digitized data and making it ready for application of further process is basically called as data aggregation, whether it is called as data management, workflow automation, or the process component. So the various layers of digital transformation, if you just have a look at this chapter, which is in 11.3, you would see that data management is the correct answer. Why data management? Because it says categorizing and organizing the digitized data and making it ready for application of further process. This is the correct option, should be option number 2. Moving on to the 30th one. Which among the following is not a characteristic of big data? Whether it is variety, volume, velocity, or invariability. The 4 characteristics of big data, or 4 V's, are volume, variety, velocity, and variability. So which among the following is not a characteristic? Invariability is not a characteristic. It has to be a variability. So whenever I say characteristics of big data, you just remember 4 V's. It should be volume, variety, velocity, and variability. 31st, data that can be stored, accessed, and processed in the form of fixed format is called as unstructured, semi-structured, structured, or flexible data. Because it says it can be stored, accessed, and processed in form of fixed format, then it should be obviously structured data. This is the correct option, should be option number 3. How do you define structured data? It says data that can be stored, accessed, and processed in the form of fixed format. A lot of success have been achieved over a period of time in developing techniques for working with such kind of data and also deriving volume out of it. Hence, the option should be option number 3. 32nd, which among the following is not a component of a blockchain? Whether it is a distributed ledger technology, whether immutable record, whether smart contracts, or increased threat. So when I talk about important components of a blockchain, it basically includes distributed ledger technology, immutable records, and smart contracts. So first 3 are already there, hence my correct option should be option 4, that is increased threat. Other than that, the other components are increased trust, greater security, and increased efficiency. Right? So if you just remember all the points, then you would be able to recollect what are the important components of the blockchain. Right? 33rd, which among the following alternatives is not suited for robotic process automation tools? Whether it is repeatable, whether it has predictable interactions with IT application, whether it is routine or unpredictable events. Robotic process automation tool are best suited for processes with repeatable, predictable interactions with IT application, RPA, that is robotic process automation, software where robots perform routine business process by copying the way that interact with applications through a user interface. So the first 3 points are already covered. The only thing that is not covered is unpredictable event. And it says which among the following is not suited. So unpredictable events is not suited for robotic process automation tools. Hence the correct option should be option number 4 for 33. Moving on, dash is similar to referral programs. Whether it is influencer marketing, whether it is affiliate marketing, whether it is social media marketing platforms, or content marketing. I guess you would have guessed the right answer. The correct option should be option number 2, that is affiliate marketing. It says it is similar to referral programs. It involves working with outside individuals or companies under the agreement that they promote your product in exchange for a commission from each sale that can be attributed to their efforts. Hence the correct option should be affiliate marketing rather. 35th, Dash is a form of paid advertising that allows marketing teams to essentially purchase traffic to their website. Whether it is influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, pay-per-click or content marketing, is a form of paid advertising that allows marketing teams to essentially purchase traffic to their website. Correct option should be pay-per-click, right? It says it's a form of paid advertising that allows marketing teams to essentially purchase traffic to their website. Marketers place ads on websites or search engines such as Google and Microsoft Bing and pay a fee each time the ad is clicked on. You would have seen that whenever you access a particular website, you will find a lot of ads over there. So every time you click, you basically generate revenue. That's what it talks about. So that's what is pay-per-click. Moving on, forecasting the weather is an example of, this question was asked in December 24, whether it is narrow AI, whether it is general AI or human level, whether it is super AI or deep learning. Correct answer should be narrow AI. Why narrow AI? Because that is artificial intelligence. It refers to the current state of the art with existing software that automates a traditionally human activity and often outperforms humans in efficiency and endurance in one specialized area. This example can be forecasting the weather, autonomous driving, etc. So when I talk about forecasting the weather is an example of, it is a perfect example of narrow AI. Moving on to the last question. Which one of the following activities involves receiving, storing and distributing inputs to the production process? If you remember, we already discussed something called as value chain. In that we had two activities, primary and secondary activities. In primary activity, we had 5 functions. The first one was what? Inbound logistics. So what did it say? It said concerned with receiving, storing and distributing inputs to product or service, including material handling, stock control, transport, etc. Hence, having said that, my correct option should be option 1 for question number 37. With this, I finished the various MCQs for strategic management. If you like this video, do press the like button, share with your friends, and if you have not yet, please do subscribe to our channel. Thank you for joining and keep learning.